All right, Shalom family. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer. And it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect tonight's message. Aman. Welcome everybody. How are you guys doing? Today, yesterday, Kwam yesterday. Barak Allah Atsham Yahweh. Shalom. Ana Kofi. Shalom. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi, ça va? Ni hao, namaste, akbaaba, etesen, habari, jamo, bibini Kofi, nina frakukutana nueve, kamsa, kamsamida, Ohio, I see you. Hello, welcome to everybody on YouTube, everybody on TikTok. We appreciate your presence. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voices and speaking the unspoken. Those who are coming over from the watch party or coming on in general, we appreciate your presence today. And we're excited to drop by with another message for you. Hopefully, a message of healing and power and health and wealth and sustenance, etc. We're thankful and grateful for what the Most High is doing in our lives right now in this season. Excuse me. We give all praise and honor once again to Yahweh Elohim. We give all praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. We're thankful for what the Most High is doing in her life as well, and for what the Most High is doing as far as even having her. She'll be joining us every Thursday for this month for TikTok on Thursday nights on Kofi_42 right here. And she shall be joining us every Saturday for the podcast as we start the new year, where her and I will be coming up, being in front of you with messages together. So we're excited about that. And so all of you, we appreciate you once again for being on. Thank you so much. And we are thankful and grateful for you being on. To the moderators, ministerial staff, SOC, if it's your first time with us, to Lottie Dottie, everybody, if you're one time of many, we appreciate your presence being here today. And so tonight we're going to talk about We Know. We know, K-N-O-W. Before we get too much deeper into it, let's go ahead and say hello to everybody. How you doing, Minister Tamara? How you doing, Sister Austral, Coco, Sister Deborah, Minister Joseph, Big Brother Thomas, Jay Billa? I'm not sure. Keith Samuel, how you doing, Brother Alton, and everybody who's joining us on all the platforms. We're thankful. Tonight, once again, the topic, we know. The problem is not what we don't know. The problem has become, at least for the world and those that are against us and those who are our enemies, how you doing, Mike Mans, that we know, right? That we know who we are. Hey, how you doing, Draco? We know what time it is. We know who we are. We know what the word of Yah says. We know how to build. We know how to love. We know how to love the Most High. We know how to love ourselves. And we even know how to love those that are against us. We know how to act. We know the law. We know that law and grace and mercy and works and faith all have to go together. We are aware. The fight, right? The fight is not against people who are trying to figure out what you don't know. The fight is against those who are trying to figure out what you know. And now that you know, will you come together with people that know is the next step. Now that you know, the question is, are you willing to do what's necessary, right, to build, to make sure that we come together? Psalm 122, that we are compact as a nation, that we have fellow believers with us, right? That we are, now that we know, the question is like, are you doing what you know? Because a lot of stuff, see, what was problematic for so many years is that many people swore that they had all the answers to everything, and all this stuff, but they never moved. And isn't it amazing how everybody, all these assemblies come together? Hey, how you doing? First time on this side, is that her 3802? Thanks for being on. Right? Isn't it amazing that through all this stuff, everybody knew everything about what was going on with us, or everybody could preach a sermon on this and that, but we never moved together. How you doing, Miss Pierce? And all these different things that were supposed to take place, we never moved together. Interestingly enough, like in all these things that were supposed to take place, all these things were supposed to be preached, all these things that we're supposed to hear, we knew supposedly, but we didn't move. But how do you know something that you don't move? And you have to be intimate with something in order to know it. How you doing, Slick Rich? Thanks for being on. Glasses are off. All right. Right. How you doing, D Lee? Like, we know this stuff, but the problem is not the solution is not just that we know, right? Or I'm sorry, watch this. So I have to make sure because some of us might not be caught up on the lingo, right? When I say no, I'm going off of being intimate with. For example, if you in the Bible, when it says so and so and so and so know each other, even in ancient language, period, right? Even in the South, in certain places in the United States of America, if you go certain places, you say, I know so and so, they say, oh, you know them, right? Because to know means to be intimate with, to become one with, to marry, to really to conceive. It'll say so and so knew one another and they conceived, right? That means to be intimate, become one with. If we say we know the Father, if we say that Yahweh is our husband, if we say that we are the children of Yah and we know him, what we're saying is we're intimate with him to the place of even giving forth fruit, that he would give us a vision and we would be able to manifest something. So many of us claim that we know, but the problem is you have to have action, some kind of intimacy, something that shows, right? By this will men know that you are my disciples, by the way that you love one another, by the way that you act towards one another, the way you achaba. God is love, yachava achaba, right? For those who know what that is, right? How you doing, Sister Lorraine? For we know, see, watch this. For we know that all things work together for the Constitution, or for constitutional value, or for the righteousness thereof, or what you would call the good of those who love Ahaba Alacham and are what? Called, invited according to his purpose. How you doing, Sister Hella? How you doing? Pothead, thanks for being part of the community. All right. Right. For we know that talks to an intimacy. Right, that's part of our affirmations, right? Romans chapter 8 verse 1, we are therefore now not under condemnation. Why? Because we follow after the spirit and not after the flesh. Romans 8:11, therefore the same spirit that rose Joshua from the dead dwells within us and will quicken our mortal bodies. Romans chapter 8 verse 18, the suffering of this present time is not worthy to be compared to the glory which shall be revealed. Romans chapter 8 verse 19, the creation is waiting on the manifestation of the sons of Elohim, those who know who he is. Therefore, Romans chapter 8 verse 28, all things are working together for righteousness' sake, for the righteousness of the Most High, Yahweh Elohim, for those that love him, Ahaba, act upon this and are called, invited according to this purpose. And then the bonus, right? The bonus, Romans 8:37, we are therefore more than conquerors. We don't think like conquerors. Conquerors don't know anything more than conquerors know. They know how to conquer. They know Nicolaitan doctrine. They know how to get people to bow down to them. But when you're more than a conqueror, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they are mighty by the pulling down of strongholds. All these things we've been talking about. Hallelujah. We know is different than I'm aware of. Because if I know, not I'm intimate with it to the point of producing fruit. You shall know the tree by the fruit it bears. You shall be intimate with what kind of tree it is by what kind of fruit it bears. Right? If I'm looking to see if it's a maple tree, I can look at the leaf and say that's maple, right? Toronto Maple Leafs. If you don't know what a maple leaf looks like, think about the hockey team, right? But see, I can know what it is, and I can know if I'm intimate with it. I'm also intimate with, can I use it for this? Can I use it for syrup? Can I use it in tea? Can I use it? Can I eat it? Is it edible? All these different things, because I know it. I've taken time out to learn of it, to grow from it, to eat of it, to acknowledge it, even to empathize with it. I would not just cut it down for no reason, right? Because just because it's a tree, all right, it doesn't mean that I have the right to just be able to do whatever I feel like doing with it, right? Like, I have to be careful even of using it as a resource. I'm intimate with it. I know it. Many of our native indigenous cultures, they teach us this more than some other cultures do, right? To be intimate with the nature of a thing, natural law. Use every piece of the buffalo. Don't just be like others who have come over to this country and you destroy the whole buffalo population. And now that you've destroyed it, you're trying your best to keep it while putting wild wolves that you try to destroy them too, trying to put wolves that aren't necessarily used to being in that situation. Now they chase them down, and now both of them are slowly dying off in front of our eyes anyways. Because you weren't intimate. You didn't know how that worked. You just did it. You were aware that the buffalo need to be there. You were aware that wolves need to be there, but you weren't, but you didn't know what needed to happen. if that makes sense, right? So we know is in talking about intimacy. We're intimate with this. We are intimate with this. Are you intimate? Do you know? Do you know what it is to be Yashadal in this season? Being aware of something is not the same as knowing something. Knowing something means we're going to conceive. The season is over for just being aware. The season is over for dating the Most High, like you date, and you date trying to just get a meal. You date just trying to see if somebody lay down with you. You date so that you can feel like you went out with a 10 or something like that. It's time to know. It's time to talk about marriage. It's time to talk about conception of ideas. It's time to get away from ideology and get away from that and give birth to truth. He said, "Do you think it's righteous to have a healthy respect and fear for nature, for as fast as it gives life, it also takes it?" Yeah, you know. See, if we're not aware, see, people are aware. Oh, be careful about moving animals around, but you didn't really know what was going to happen with it until all of a sudden you figured out. Wait a minute, put pigs in the swamplands and watch them go crazy. Now we should never put them there in the first place, but you put them over there. Put some boa constrictors over in Florida. See what happens. See if they don't start eating the alligators. Right? Now we know. Now we're intimate with it. But see, for a lot of people, it takes things breaking down. And you live in a system to where people just do stuff without knowledge, without intimacy at all. People are aware of a lot of different things, but they don't move on things. They don't do things with intimacy. How you doing, Minister Morel? How you doing, Sir Stephen? It's time for us to move. It's time for us to grow. It's time for us to mature. It's time for us to have that character, none. The 14th character, literally meaning perfection. It's time for us to mature. Do you know? Do you know your people? How you doing, Sis Monica? Like, do you know? Do you know it or are you aware of it? Do you think you might know something? Like a lot of us, we thought we knew. We thought we knew um, what communion was, not realizing somebody had to replace Passover with communion in order for us to have it. Like we talked about last night, right? If you replace the truth with silence, the silence becomes a lie. Somebody replaced what we should have known. And so we became intimate with something else. We became intimate with the fables. We're warned about that in First Timothy, Second Timothy chapter 4. Once the charge is given from Paul to Timotheus, Paul makes it a point to say what? He says, hey, be careful. These people are going to have itching ears and they're going to turn their ears away from the truth, turning their ears towards fables. People know that they're fables and they'll still give more to that than they will the truth. Have you ever thought about that? There's a movie, uh, I'm not trying to talk about the whole movie, but there's a movie, I don't know the guy's name, but there's a movie that it's called V for Vendetta. If you've never seen it, it's actually pretty dope concept, actually, when you watch it, right? But it's called V for Vendetta. If you see a lot of these people that do a lot of uh a lot of hacking into stuff and giving these messages and nobody can find them. The masks that they wear, those white masks with the little mustaches and everything, it comes from that movie, V for Vendetta. It's supposed to be a mask basically based off of, you know, uh, somebody who very famously almost blew up Parliament. And so if you've ever seen that movie, there's a guy in there. I don't know his name. I think he's even on the news over there, but I just can't remember his name right now. Um, but he plays the guy who invites Evie, the character Evie, out on a date, and then and basically like ended up he was lying about his sexuality. He actually wasn't straight, but he needed to pretend he was straight so that people would think so that basically he wouldn't get beat up because they would kill people over anything that wasn't following that line. um no, it's definitely not a Vin Diesel movie. It's called V for Vendetta. Very great movie. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. I'm not even sure if it's based off a book. If it is, I've never read the book. The movie is the concept is quite outstanding, right? And but that guy who played that character, he's in an interview where they ask him about, spirituality, Al-Kham, or, God, etc. And he's like, well, I don't like the God of the Bible. I don't like him because of this, that, whatever. And people need him to be perfect. But he says, oh, but the gods of the Greeks, which really would have been deists and deities, not gods, but nevertheless, we get what he means. He was like, I'm fascinated by them. I like them. I want to learn more about them. Because he said they're more like us. They're fallible. In other words, they have issues. And you know why they do that? They do that because they're basically saying we know them. Why? Because we made them up. Why is it that people still have this affinity for Greek deists and Roman deists and Norse theology and paganism and all that stuff? Because they made those up. As much as they'll tell you, but they're okay with it. As much as they'll tell you you shouldn't be. Now, here's the wild part. See, you got to know. You got to know what you have is different. See, because whenever we do it, it's always treated differently. Do you know this? Do you know this? You ready? They know that Santa Claus is not real, but they still teach their children about Santa Claus. I'm not sure if it's Charles Bronson or not, right? But they know that Santa Claus is not real. He said everything is made up. Okay, well then, I don't know why you should worry about anything. If your heart is made up, then I mean, what's the point? But if somebody made your heart and they made it up, then maybe you should realize about the person that made your heart. I don't know. But nevertheless, before we get into nothing is real, everything's the matrix, and therefore we shouldn't pay attention to anything and have any kind of morality. First, back to reality, at least the reality of this conversation. Um, and if that's just way of saying hello, peace be upon thee. Hello, how you doing? And thanks for being part of the community, LaWanda Robinson. Appreciate it. So when we're talking about this, when we talk about something, I was literally, this person's making my point for me. Thank you for helping me to make the point. I was literally in the middle of saying that when we have something and they declare it's made up, they say, up, you believe in the word of Yah, you believe in the Bible, all these different things, you just making stuff up. That's what they say. You just make stuff up. However, when they make stuff up, nobody stops everything to say, hey, we shouldn't listen to your stuff. Everything's made up. You say, don't listen to the Bible because it's made up. But then you say, well, nobody can prove the Big Bang Theory or the new, whatever they want to call it, not theory, even though it's really just theories. But now the Earth is now 13 billion years, even though it's based off of the speed of light. And come to find out, according to these same people, theoretically, space moves faster than the speed of light. And if it moves faster than the speed of light, then you can't tell how old it is according to that. And there's an explosion, and sometimes somehow an explosion in a vacuum happened. But then again, now it's not just a small explosion that's smaller than a period, or even something coming from nothing. Now it had to be three somethings that were there that bumped into each other that caused an explosion, and somehow, some way, kept on going, even though they somehow slowed down to reconnect with one another, although they're moving, faster than the speed of light. Somehow, some way, in a vacuum, they came together, right? You see how like none of that actually attaches, like when you even look at the theory, but that thing that they have to have faith in, they say, believe that. But the thing you say you have faith in, they say, don't believe that. You got to ask yourself, why are the things that are your belief system always the things that were said, hey, don't listen to that? Right? Like, you have to ask yourself, if everything doesn't matter and everything's made up, then why is it that when we talk about morality, you say, stop trying to call me immoral? But when you say this is what morality is to you, you tell us we're immoral. You have to ask yourself, right? Like, these are people who obviously must not know. And you have to ask yourself, are you aware of that? So every time that you talk to somebody who's busy telling you why you shouldn't have a belief system for yourself, but then tells you why you should bow down to their belief system, you have to ask yourself. No, it's not Hugo Weaving I'm thinking of either. Right. But you got to ask yourself, what is about this that we know that people have been hiding from us, and it's starting to rear its ugly head to the point to where now people just tell you to shut up? You got to, yeah, it is hard to hear the truth. What is it about this that we know? What are the things we've been talking about this in the rising? But see, there's some things that we know that we're seeing. And now when we say it, nobody can give you any answer for it. They just say, shut up and stop talking about it. We say, well, we're Israel. They say, no, how dare you say that? We say, well, then tell us where we're wrong. You said you can't define absolute morals. They are ideas and derived from different cultural beliefs. Exactly. And so we are coming from a cultural perspective. From my culture, from my perspective, I get to be able to say in our culture, we talk about this is what's absolute within our culture, correct? We agree on that then? We should actually agree. So I should be able to talk about what it is that I come from. Right. So if I was raised a certain way and somebody says, well, over there, when you see these things and these items and these words and these things that have been changed, and you have scrolls over there and you identify something, and even modern Israel has to say, in fact, not only do you live by the law, but you live by the law in a way that they don't even live by it. They have to actually say, even though they call us beta Israel, they still have to say we are considered to be the same Israel. And when they look at our blood type, E1B1A, we actually have way more of it than anybody else does over in the places where you talk about East Africa or West Africa, where my people are from. Therefore, we have a right to be able to talk about our culture as keepers of the law, according not just to some, oh, you're anti-Kyrie or you're anti-Kanye or you're anti-white or whatever, but according to the culture, for we know, right? To his culture. I agree with you. Right? Culture leads to beliefs, and beliefs lead to emotions. Emotions lead to feel. I'm sorry. Culture leads to beliefs. Beliefs lead to emotions. Emotions lead to feelings. Feelings lead to your mood. Mood leads to your effort or energy, and your effort or energy leads to your habits. And a lot of people around here developing false habits based off of false cultures, or developing habits and telling you why I should give up my culture and say, hey, let it be whatever you want it to be. Call it your culture, do what you want to do, and admit that you've deviated from what we originally did. But don't sit up here and tell me that I don't have a right to speak of what I speak on. You say it's when one talks about the moral standards where the conundrum arises for you. For you. It's not a conundrum for me to live how my people have lived for thousands of years, for millennia, for some people would say several millennia if you want to go even to that route, but definitely for millennia, a couple of them, right? So it's not a problem for me to be able to live by my culture. It's also not a problem for me to respect your culture and say, if you live by that, for example, right? According to this, right? If you know how to read the culture, read it culturally and read the original, especially. According to this, right? What should we know? Be intimate with. A lot of people aren't intimate. According to this, we know that there's no way that Yahshua HaMashiach, who people call Jesus the Christ, could be born December 25th, right? We know, like, according to that, because if you know about how long he was alive, right? Even people that don't believe in this will still go with it, even if they think it's pure mythology. We all agree 33 and a half years. If he's 33 and a half years old, and we know when he passed away, then you add another half a year, 6 months. And we'll be able to see this, right? We're able to see where he is. So we add six more months to it. If he died at Passover, add 6 months to that. Now, Passover, Pasach, is based off of our calendar, not everybody else's cultural, once again, right? Before we get into everybody else's stuff. So if I sit there, you said no is a strong word when talking about beliefs. No just means to be intimate with something, culturally speaking. Now, people have changed the definition and the value for the word no to be able to fit their parameters, and that's okay. If you do that, we admit that you can do that. But those of us who go back, we look for the origins of things. And when we go back to the original meaning of that and where that word comes from, to have knowledge or to know something is to be intimate with it. To know somebody is to be married with them. Back then, sex was marriage and marriage was sex. So to know somebody meant that you were already pre-qualified to be a husband, pre-qualified to be a wife. You were already able to lay down with one another. And once you lay down with one another, you knew each other and you conceived a child. You could not know everybody. You could not know everything. You could only be intimate with what you took time out to be literally married in a sense to, even in a psychological sense, a allegorical sense, a physiological sense, a marital sense. You said you can't know and believe at the same time. According to who? According to, once again, what you believe. And that's fine. According to what you've changed the definition into. But once again, to know something means to be intimate. So to be intimate with something actually strengthens my belief. So my belief and my knowing, I have no problem seeing the parallel in that. For you, you have a problem with that because what? You're part of a culture that says that we have to put a difference between know and belief. In my culture, we don't have a problem with that. So when I'm around you, yeah, if I was where you work or something, I would know intimate with the difference between saying, hey, this is a belief and this is what somebody knows. Because by the way, If you know something, you start to believe in it harder anyways, right? But you can believe something. Now you're talking about more even along the line of faith, because in your culture you separate faith and belief. Even pistis, though, even the Greco-Roman thing, which is really where you kind of get it from, faith and belief really kind of go together, but we've kind of separated apart. It's a different culture. You said, I don't know what your culture is. What is your culture? Your culture is definitely anti what I'm saying. And you're speaking about something that sounds like Western civilization. Does it not sound like Western civilization? So what is your culture? What is your culture? Since you're saying that I'm wrong, before you use ad hominem, and it looks like you go to the Dunning-Kruger effect when you use ad hominem, right? If we're going to use these terms to be able to tell me why I'm double-minded, cognitive dissonance, conundrum, first of all, and second, first of all, because first of all, like, here's the wild thing. While you're telling me about my morality and my lack of stuff and judging and all this, you haven't even said hello. You haven't even said, how are you doing? You haven't even said, hey, I respect your humanity. You haven't done any of that. Your goal has been to say you are wrong, 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 wrong. Yet you're here telling me why I'm wrong, to tell you you're wrong. I've told you you can keep your belief system, and you've told me why I'm wrong. So, question for you: do you believe in Western civilization as far as what it is now? No, 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 no. You just, well, okay. You're not here to actually have conversation. That's fine. Because now you're getting into a place. I never said that. I never said, come on, both of us. I'm going to give you credit that you won't give me. I believe you to be highly intelligent. I believe you to be somebody that is is sound as far as etymology. I believe that you are a person who even comprehends what somebody else's belief is as far as eschatology, even if you don't live those things, to be able to see the difference between reveal and reveal. I believe you to be somebody that obviously is somebody who's been trained and schooled and has a lot of different things. Right. Right. But at the same time, you said you don't have to. Okay. Well, once again, we're not going to have something. You literally just told me off about that, this, that, or whatever, and then you won't answer my question. So I think I've answered yours and talked back with you. And we're not going to have an actual conversation, then, have a great day. You- Have a great day. And if you feel like that makes me monstrous or makes me somebody who's fallen into conundrums or whatever, so be it. Right. But that's a great example, once again, of we know. The problem is when we know. I literally am saying in my culture, this person said culturally is morality. Then I start talking about the morality within our culture, and then the person says why I'm still wrong because in his culture you got to separate this. See what I'm saying? The problem is not that we are unaware, or the problem is not even that we're aware. The problem is that we know in our culture to know something is to be intimate with it. Period. And so this person's saying, well, where I come from, I could know something and not believe it. Like, yeah, by faith. So you would be intimate through faith or through belief. You could be intimate through belief. But because of the prism that he looks at it through, or she looks at it through, I'm not even sure who it was, right? But because of the prism they look at it through, it has to be exactly what they say it has to be, because in that culture, whatever they stand for, it has to be. But see, not everybody stands up for that culture. We know we have a demarcation. We have something that says that we're greater. In that person's culture, I'm supposed to answer every question. And then they get to tell me why I'm wrong, yet they can't say hello and they can't answer my question back. The problem is that you even know who you are. I'm aware of who I am. I become problematic for this system. I become a problem because I would know who I am. And now that I'm not your Negro, and I'm not even saying that person's going there, but let's be honest, the word Negro, if you know what it is, Negro land, all these different things, you'll find out that Negro, literally, is something that referred to us. Well, not, I don't agree fully with what some people are saying recently, which is all Negro, because Negro goes back way, way back in time. But nevertheless, what Negro has become now has become a word in its truest, in this sense, to where the modern terminology of Negro does not start with Spain hating us as much as it's talking about Portugal and then Spain and then the Roman Catholic Church, or sorry, Spain, then Portugal, then the Roman Catholic Church. As far as the Negro was somebody who were considered to be those who were swarthy, those who were Moors, those who were blackamoors, those who were black, and they were people who were considered to be former Avda or former Hebrews, former Israelites. And so when I know who I am, and I know on Negro land, you got to have scattered Hebrews on there by the map, not made by us, but even those that are of Eurocentric values and those that by the colonial and social construct would be called white. because we know that white is not an actual color. So therefore, I don't believe in white human beings. But nevertheless, I know what people mean when they say that. We know it now. And when we know it, it becomes problematic. If I came out and I was just like, oh, okay, whatever you say, boss, if you just say believe, and believe is different than know, and whatever your construct is, the person would have been like, wow, I like you. But what does that do besides just have one person that's a like or a follow or whatever? What does it do even if it gives me 5,000 likes? Does it help our people? Or does it mean that we have to continue to stay cursed? See, when you're in the curses, everybody's fine. Y'all remember we went over the Song of Degrees series not too long ago? It was about 2 series ago now. Let's look at the Song of Degrees. I believe it's Psalm 124, 123, 124, somewhere in there. 120, 123. I want to read something for you in the Song of Degrees. This is the 4th step in the 15 steps we're supposed to take, the 4th degree and the 15 degrees. I want to read, I'm sorry, the 4th step. Yeah, I said it right, 4th step. I want to read something for you that we might have read, but we just kind of read over and we don't stop and actually look at it, meditate on it. I would like to give you something that will bless you and will help you to realize how much people are against you. You ready? It says this. It says, unto thee I lift up mine eyes, O that dwellest in the heavens. Behold, as the eyes of servants unto the hand of their masters, that means teachers, by the way. So as the eyes of their servants to the hands of their teachers, as the eyes of a maiden unto the hand of her mistress, right? Because you had a master bedroom, you even had a mistress bedroom. So they're talking about the people who run the house or the family. So our eyes upon Yahweh Elohim until that he have mercy upon us. Now watch this, verse 3. Verse 3, here it is. Have mercy upon us, Yahweh. Have mercy upon us, for we are exceedingly filled with contempt. But watch this part. Verse 4, the end of Psalm 123, the end of this 4th step. Watch this. Our soul, our nachavash, our sake, our psychology, our nachavash, which literally is the thing that we should be perfect. The soul is what we should be perfected in by having the Holy Spirit present to nail us in place as a family so that we will not be destroyed. Right? So it says our nachavash, our psychology, our nachavash, our soul is exceedingly filled with the scorning of those who are exceedingly filled with, I'm sorry. Our soul is exceedingly filled with the scorning of those that are at ease and the contempt of the proud. In other words, the proud in this world are hold you in contempt. Every word that you say is in contempt, right? Order in the court, or I'm gonna hold you in contempt, right? Everything that comes out of your mouth, they hold us in contempt. But it says before that our soul, our psychology is exceedingly, that means it's being overflowingly filled, right? Overflowingly. So it's hitting everything. It's causing destruction on a level we've never seen. Our soul is exceedingly filled with the scorning of those that are at ease. Some people are at ease when they scorn you. When you feel scorned, there's somebody out there that's at ease. When you are saying what you believe in and somebody comes against it, there's somebody out there who says, Israel is feeling down. Yeah, that's where they're supposed to be. Yeah, that black folk, they're not supposed to do that. He doesn't even work a 9 to 5 like everybody else does. He should be just like everybody else. She's out there and she thinks that she has the right to have an attitude. Every time that she opens her mouth, I'm gonna say she has an attitude, even though we got Karens in our culture, but we're gonna go ahead and say that every time that she just opens her mouth, when she smiles, when she doesn't agree with it, we're gonna say that she's got the worst attitude out of all women. But these Karens will be out here locking people up. We're gonna do all that stuff. We scorning, and they are at ease with it. You know where blackface started? Blackface didn't start on white people. You got to recognize blackface actually started on black people. The only way that you could even get on stage and make any kind of little money you were making, you had to put blackface on top of your black skin so that they would feel more comfortable around you because it looked ridiculous. And to make you look ridiculous, it made them at ease. That's why later on, when white people said, wow, people are making money, maybe we can make some money too, they started wearing blackface and they started putting it in stuff like Looney Tunes. People blow up, and what do? You see blackface with the little little watermelon and soup coolers and all that? Because they are at ease. It makes them laugh. It makes it comfortable. Your scorn makes people at ease. When people were hanging from trees, look at those pictures of the people who are hanging from trees. It's not just when our people are hanging from trees. Look at the most concerning thing shouldn't just be the fact that they're doing this right after church service, or the fact that they're burning this body, or the fact that they're eating the body, or the fact that they're taking it and putting it on the mantle. The most concerning part to us should be that the little children are smiling. When you see all that stuff, don't ever forget. Don't ever they're in their culture. The little children are already being trained that when those people are hanging up from tree, they smile, they laugh. It's supposed to be something that causes them to have joy. This is why Black Pete exists with Santa Claus. Y'all don't even know that's part of the elf story, that Santa Claus got to have a slave around. Now, what they say is, oh, well, he's supposed to be, it's the soot from the chimney and isn't that, but people can't wait to put that blackface on. You have to be honest about it. You got to keep it real. Like the people aren't concerned about, yeah, indoctrinating them. They got to teach them early, right? How you doing, trauma shaman? Like the problem is that is not so much that you said something. The problem is not so much that you learned. The problem is not so much that you brought something to the table. The problem is that you know. When you didn't know, it was okay. When you didn't know that before it was chemistry, it was chemistry. They can go ahead and tell you whatever they wanted. But then when it's chemistry, now we got to talk about melanin. There's a problem. Now we know. See, once you see something, you can't unsee something. Yeah, it made them happy, put smiles on their faces. Once you realize that they turned turkey in the straw to N-word level watermelon, that's literally the length, the da 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 da, and we were sitting up there clapping to it and stuff too. But that's N-word level watermelon. N-word level watermelon, ha 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 ha. Now that we know that, I can't let you come through my hood playing that music anymore. Get that ice cream truck out of here if you ain't gonna turn that on. And now they say, well, why are you doing that? You're making a big deal. No, no, that's not out of nothing. That's a big deal. We are not N-words who are bad people because we like watermelon. The only reason why they even put that in place was because we were making money off of watermelon ice cream. We can't have that. So they literally, to stop us from making some money, and then start selling the same thing, they said, and we're love of watermelon. So when a white person, you see them with watermelon, you have no problem with it. But even though you know watermelon is natural and from nature, you have a problem with your natural law, with your natural self, because you try to eat it and you try, and dare I say, you mess around and have a grape soda with it. Like, I don't even know how using purple food coloring somehow got us to a place to where now we're afraid of drinking it, but we're afraid of having fried chicken. Just let them mess around, hit the trifecta, right? Where we're afraid to literally have soda and chicken and watermelon all together, as if that's a bad thing. Because somebody literally, they did what? They saw that you were something, and they said, we are at ease with scorning you, and we are net, it's necessary we hold you in contempt. That's Psalm 123, verse 4, right in the Song of Degrees, the fourth step, that you have to recognize there's people out there that hold you in contempt, Yasha. We should give you the banner and you eat the skin. Yeah, eat the skin too. But I'm just saying, like, we are afraid of it. Other people can make your food. We were talking about this earlier today. Other people can make fried chicken not as well as you, sell it to you, and you have no problem buying it from them. But for some reason, you don't want to go to your place. Yeah, mess around with Kool-Aid. All the stuff wasn't even made by us, by the way. You think we made, as a people, you think that we were drinking straight up sugar and water? That's why, have you ever noticed you had enough sense, even in your spirit, even in the way that you do, even in culture, you had enough sense to not call it, flavor. You called it color, because you knew it was food coloring. Something in your psyche literally said that I can't even call that what it is. I can't call it what it's not. I'm not going to say that's grape flavor. I'm going to say that's purple. I'm not going to call that apple. I'm going to say that's green. Right? I'm not going to say that's cherry. I'm going to say that's red, because it's not even real. You knew it deep down inside. You could not do it. You could not bring yourself to come outside the truth. See, you knew it on a somewhat existential level, or you knew it on a spiritual level. You knew it as far as the way that you're, something in your DNA memory said, man, that's food coloring. But now that you know it, like now that you all the way intimate with it, and you can come out and you can verbalize it, now it's problematic. It's problematic to the company when the company says, why ain't black folk buying Kool-Aid like they used to? First of all, now it's gotten expensive to die. Like, if you want to kill yourself, you shouldn't pay that much money anyway. So a lot of us don't even buy it, right? But secondly, if you're gonna get it, like, and you realize it's killing you, and you realize it's not real, and then you realize, hey, I could, if I really wanted something that was purple, why not just go ahead and grow some grapes, and I could walk outside and take the grapes, and I could squeeze them, or I could just eat them, and not even have to worry about it, because it's better to eat the grape than it is to drink the grape. The way the grape is designed, when I chew it, I get different things just out of the chewing. When literally my teeth connect with it, something already is happening to my system. You said, is it different? Yeah, the origin of these stereotypes based on the envy. Yeah, right. So we had to get to a place like, the problem is not so much that you're aware of it. The problem is now that you're intimate with it and you're willing to speak up against it. This is why you got to have your own community started. This is why you have to start being who you're supposed to be. Amen, Samaya. This is why you got to start getting to that place, because you're getting to a place where if you keep trying to be in this public system and be a citizen of the United States corporation, you're going to go down. Today, the topic, once again, we know. You said, what do I think about the theory of the Bible took place in America? Yeah, we talked, well, not to come against you. We talked about that already. That's a Mormonism thing that comes out of something that Joseph Smith believed, coming out of other stuff. And so they try to rename a bunch of stuff because they tried to say that white people were Israelites and that black people were cowards. That's why they were black. And then if you fought with the devil, so if you fought for the Mormon Jesus, your people turned out white. If you fought for the devil, your people basically were fallen angels that can't have a body. And if you were a coward and didn't fight for anybody, you ended up colored. And so that same kind of context tries to remove things from Kemet and Yastel, and then they renamed a bunch of stuff. And now what's happened is, once again, us not knowing our culture, we just want everything to be about us because we don't have anything. So we try to identify with anything and everything, anything that we just, even if we have to grasp at straws. So we go, oh, okay, you see this? They're Mormon, so that must mean that they were Moors. They got their religion from Moors, so they call themselves Moor man to try and take our identity. And so the way that they name stuff, now we're going to say that that's what we named, and that's where we actually were. So Kemet wasn't really where people say it was, but it was actually over. No. Like that's not healthy, right? Hey, how you doing, Elder? Elder Yehuda or Yehavada? Oh, I didn't mean. Well, I wasn't. I was actually just trying to. Well, I wasn't inviting you to come in. If you, unless you want to pop in real quick and pop back out. I was just trying to say hello. I was trying to make sure you were the same person. I think you are the same person. I think that you are, though. You said, Kofi, I jive with you hard, but you recently spoke out about a Reiki, and I'm not sure where I land on that. Is it possible to explain that sometime? Well, Reiki, as far as just you know, I was saying, as far as we have somebody who has experience in that area, as far as being able to heal, there's certain things as far as out of that you can get some experience things, because it is real as far as energy. Like, for example, because energy is not spirit, by the way, right? Energy is physical, it's manifestation. But it is true, like, for example, let's say somebody loses a limb, right? And let's say they lose a leg. I've seen this in the military, a couple times, right? Somebody loses a limb and they keep talking about, my leg hurts, because there's still something there. There's still melanin. There's melanin recognition. There's melanin memory. So you can lose like a body part and still be able to get that. So there is a sense of, like, in health, being able to make sure that energy flows. But it's like yoga, right? Like, before it was called yoga, there's an African tribe that was doing it and still does. And even before it was yoga and Hinduism kind of put together, because if you know how it works, there is no Hinduism without yoga. There is no yoga without Hinduism. It's an ancient phrase. So you can't have one without the other. But there are poses and stuff that can help. The problem is when those poses become like yoga pants. That's more a Western thing, right? Or when it's stuff like this becoming over sexualized, or stuff that we just kind of randomly do, or stuff that starts getting into these churches that they're starting to do yoga in. Or even now what happens, we don't even recognize that every pose is like a deity or a spirit. So, like, downward facing dog, right? So when you start getting to these things and you start saying certain chants and you're not aware of those things, now you have a problem, right? But there are people who have gone to school, do Reiki stuff. I didn't know you were one, Omex King. We have somebody else who's a Reiki master as well. So, like, when you start getting into like the spiritual side of things, if you're not careful, you got to really walk the line with some of this stuff. If you're not aware of what you're doing, you can easily be taken somewhere else, right? But if you know what you're doing, study. It's like with me, I'm not a Muslim, for example, but I know a lot more about being a Muslim than the average non-Muslim, especially. Sometimes even the ones who are Muslims would know, because I'm willing to read through it, learn the culture, know what's going on. Know that, like, for example, you can't read the Quran, even if you can read it in Arabic, right? Which is not even the original Arabic, is written in what people read it now. But nevertheless, even when you read the Quran in Arabic, for example, you have to realize that all the books and all the surahs and all the stuff that's in there, you have to realize that even in those things, that it's not in chronological order. For example, right? You have to realize that when you're reading it, it's not Muhammad is not speaking most of the time in it. And if you want to know what Muhammad actually meant in the Quran, you can't just read the Quran by itself, because a lot of people, just like the Bible, have taken it and try to mix and match and do all these different things with it, right? So you have to actually read the Quran and then read other books where people live with him, like Mansa Musa's older brother and other people, like his youngest wife, all these different things, and see what did he mean when he wrote the Quran. And then you can actually say, okay, so jihad doesn't mean blow somebody up. Well, no, it never meant that. Jihad meant, what are you going to do today to bless somebody, right? So it's just a lot of different things, right? That you can go into. And so, but it's like studying. It's a culture. It's just like the Bible, right? A lot of people speak about the Bible without culture, and so we don't know what it's talking about. It's hard. It's difficult to get something out of something that you don't know what the people meant when they wrote it. It's hard to realize what equally yoked mean if you've never seen a yoke that binds a huge ox and a little ox, and the little ox is way bigger than you too. But a huge ox that's older but it's not as strong, and a little ox that's coming up that's actually stronger but doesn't have the wisdom, and to see them work together, you don't really recognize how equally yoked works, right? So we don't really know, like, what what the equally yoked moves in, right? So when you're dealing with Aikido, you're dealing with some Buddhism stuff, which really Buddhism, it comes out of what? It comes out of yoga and I'm sorry, yoga. Yeah, I'm sorry. Did I say earlier without Buddhism? Without Hinduism, right? So basically, you have Hinduism and yoga at the top. They go together. You can't have one without the other, especially nowadays. But you got both of those at the top, pantheistic ideology. Then out of that, you're going to deal with what? You're going to deal with Buddhism, and then out of that, you're dealing kind of with Reiki, which is kind of combining all three in a sense. And Buddhism, by the way, we don't even talk about the fact that the Buddha wasn't even talking about the afterlife. The Buddha was talking about how to be a better person now. And he was actually African. He comes from a tribe called the Enlightened people. That's why he's known as the Enlightened One. And those enlightened people are a West African tribe that made their way over time over to India. And they're still over there today, but they call them the Dalits, or the untouchables. They're the lowest class of people because they're so dark. Right. That's why Buddha, a lot of people try to teach you that, like, oh, Buddha, it was snails. And no, that's not snails. When it said Buddha was somebody who had twist. They were Bantu nuns. And even if you go, and people don't believe it, in not World War, sorry, in the Vietnam War, they actually would, black people were going obviously to fight for America. When you go over and you fight, and you see what happened, a lot of them, the Vietnamese people started treating them a lot different, right? When they came to the cities and stuff, people were like, started bringing them and treating them a certain way, almost treating them like they were some kind of spiritual guy, and they were trying to figure out what's going on. Then they started bringing them to certain temples, and they started showing them that the Buddha is black, and they don't really have, even though people who are Vietnamese and stuff, they can be darker skinned, but they didn't have anybody with those features. But then they showed them the Buddha, and they were like, oh, the Buddha looks like us. And so they immediately put the two together. So we don't even know those things, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, we know is the problem. See, when you know that, you go, well, why is it that other people respect us, but we've been trained not to respect each other? You got to start asking yourself questions. See, when you know, you act different. Somebody else who's your enemy, supposedly, not really our enemy, they were America's enemy, nevertheless, supposedly our enemy loves and respects us. How you doing, Minister Moselle? They love and respect us. Hmm. But we don't know to do that with one another. See, we got to know better. We got to act better. We have to respond better. We have to love better. We have to acknowledge better. I've said this before. I'll say it again. If you feel like people steal from us, people don't steal from poor folk. Let's end on that. Let's end on that before we get ready to take our leave tonight. People don't steal from poor folk. If somebody keeps taking from you, you got to acknowledge that you got something they want. Do you know that? Do you know that you poor people don't get stolen from? Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, somebody steal from somebody who's homeless because that person deems that whatever that person has, it makes them rich and it makes them poor. They want what they have. Well, no, somebody could be rich and they're just a thief and stuff like that. They want to get richer. They get richer by dealing with what you have to make them richer. If they want to get richer, that means you have something of value. You cannot be poor in their eyes. That's why Revelation chapter 2, verse 9 tells you, I know your tribulation. I know your works. I know your patience. I know that you think you are poor, but really are rich. And I know the blasphemy of those that say that they are Israel and are not, but they are really the synagogue of the Satan. And I even know that you're locked away, and you still going to deal with some prison and some things like that. But if you hang in there, there's a crown with your name on it. You said, so is okay to do Reiki? I would say it's okay to maybe go through some of the exercises of Reiki, but I would stay away from some of the spiritual stuff. Once again, there's a fine line in a lot of this. For example, I do Kung Fu. Now, Kung Fu is not supposed to be attached to any deity or spirit anyways, right? Any kind of spirituality necessarily, because Kung Fu just means well done. But obviously there's a lot of people that put Buddhism in it and things like that. So if I walk into my Kung Fu master's place, he's going to have a Buddha. Now I could just go, "Oh, okay, I'm not gonna learn it. I'm not gonna support the brother. I'm not gonna do this." Or I'll be like, and I don't even think he really lives up to it. I think he just likes the Chinese culture, so he just got something in there that's Chinese, right? But I can walk into my Shifu or my master's dojo, or not dojo, my master's studio, or I could just basically make it a point to go, you know what? Or and say, I'm never coming in, and this place is spiritual, blah, blah. Or I can say, okay, I'm coming here. I'm coming to learn. He doesn't say anything about it. He knows I'm a pastor. He doesn't, we don't like, we actually talk about things a little bit as far as spirituality to a certain extent. He listens to me on certain things that I say as far as how to treat the students. He honors stuff that I do. I honor him in his position or whatever. And he teaches me a lot about life. He is a guide for me in life as a man, a great man, who's getting better every day as he gets older every day, right? So I can still do those things, but if it ever gets to a point where he's like, "Hey, okay, when we do Tai Chi today, we're gonna go ahead and make sure that we start to, make sure that we breathe in and we say and we chant this, and then we breathe out and we chant this." And I look up what we chant. We don't chant anything, but I'm just saying, if it ever came to that, and I read and I realize, wait a minute, we chanting some stuff about some God stuff that I'm not with, I'm out, right? But I know enough about it. Before I would have been scared off by it. It's like, for example, a lot of us are called because we don't know. We're not intimate with this, right? A lot of us don't realize, like a lot of us won't go preach to people. For example, this is gonna mess with some of you, right? I'm 40 years of age. This is gonna mess with a lot of you, but a lot of us are afraid to do certain things because we have already deemed that somebody's too bad. You got that Jonah spirit on you, right? You got that Jonah spirit on, right? Jonah wouldn't even make sure that Nineveh got a word, which is he's supposed to be prophesying. He's supposed to be preaching. How you doing, Rick? But he won't prophesy to the people because he hates them. He hates what they represent to Israel. He hates what they've done. Sounds familiar to some of us, right? We won't preach to certain people that need to get a word because we hate them. I'm gonna just call it out. We're just gonna call it out today, right? You think they're the dogs, and it's not meat to give anything to the dogs, even though even the dogs can eat the scraps from the master's or the teacher's table. But dealing with the same thing back then, and so you have people that need to be saved, but you won't give them a word because you won't even try to learn anything about them to speak to them. You can't give them a parable because you're not able to give them something able that's parallel to the walk that you're on. That's all a parable is that you have a walk and you're going in the line, and they have a walk and they're going in the line. And what you're trying to do is make sure those lines don't intersect. You don't want to touch their stuff, right? And they can't touch your stuff because they're not kingdom. You want them to come from their stuff over to your stuff, which really isn't yours. It's really from their stuff over to the kingdom stuff, right? Parallel lines they can't touch, but they're walking a different path, but they're never going to touch. They can't touch where they are. So you have two parallel lines. Are you able to show them the parallel so that they realize I need to come off this line and come to the other one? But because you won't even so here's an example. I've used this example before. Some people don't like it, but it's real, right? Somebody will ask me about reincarnation. Do you believe in reincarnation, Pastor Kofi? I believe in reincarnation. I believe what the Buddha says. I believe yada yada yada. I believe you can keep coming back over and over and over again. And my answer will astound not just believers, but it will astound them. Now I still got to fix it for them. I can't be a stumbling block. But my answer at first will be, yes, I do believe in reincarnation. And some of you heard me say that, and immediately you clutch your pearls. Breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. It's okay, right? I don't believe in what you think I believe in when I say yes, I believe in reincarnation. My answer is yes, I believe in reincarnation, but I believe in what the Bible says. They say, and you guys are probably saying the same thing they would say. What do you mean that you believe in reincarnation, but you believe in what the Bible says? Incarnate is just something we believe. Christ incarnate, Yahshua incarnate. You just incarnate means that it's a manifestation of him. So we believe that he was incarnate in heavens, right? He was in the form of Elohim and found it not robbery, but he still came down and dwelt amongst us, right? And became one of us and dwelt with us, right? And then died for us, right? So, but he was incarnate, and then he came down and was manifested in Mariam, or who we call Mary, right? And then he was incarnate again, right? Well, the soul, if you're talking about, sure, right? But we're talking about incarnate. Carnate is what? Incarnate. We're talking about the manifestation of, right? So we're just talking about physical, right? So we're talking about physical. That's all we're talking about is physical. I'm not going to make it something different. You see what I'm saying? If we do that, why are we doing it? Are we doing it because it's truth? Or are we doing it just to win? Or are we doing it just because we're unaware or we don't know? So I'll say, like, yeah, I believe he was in heaven. I believe he came down to earth. I believe he went down the hill. I believe he came back. And when he came back, he had another body. They couldn't recognize him. So there was a reincarnation there. I believe that he was incarnate again when he went up into the heavens. I believe that it says he's going to come back again, and he looks different when he shows up in Revelation. He's incarnate again. And then it says when he comes to earth, he looks different again. He's going to be incarnate again. I believe that I'm incarnate. I came from my home, heaven. I was a spirit. The spirit in me came from heaven, right? There's a soul that's in me when I was breathed into, the breath of life. And I'm incarnate in his body, but it's a bad body. It's a sin-filled body based off of a defect from the original copy named Adam that I come from. So therefore, at some point when I die or when I am translated, whatever happens, I will get a glorified body. And when I get a glorified body, my soul and my spirit will be put in there. So I do not believe that I will come back over and over again, but I do agree with you that I will be reincarnate. And when I say that, guess what happens? They say, wow, I never thought about that before. I agree with you. Sometimes it becomes, I agree with you. Why? Because I'm not afraid to empathize with them and give them a parable, give them something that's parallel. Now, our beliefs aren't really intersecting, but we have two parallels as far as this thing that we both believe in. And if I can get you to see why I have something that's going to be greater, because Buddhism does not answer what happens after life. Remember, I told you Buddha never did that. Buddha said on his deathbed, there was one of his disciples on his deathbed, came to him and said, Buddha, please, before you die, you haven't told us about what happens in the spirit world and what happens after we die. He said, I didn't come here for that. He said, I came here to teach you how to be a better human being. So if I can talk to them and tell them that and say, hey, look, Buddha wants you to believe in reincarnation over and over and over again, the Four Noble Truths and all these different things or whatever, but he himself can't tell you what's going to happen after you die. However, Christ incarnate wants you to be reincarnate in a glorified body to live with him in heavenly places forever without end. And you don't have to worry about coming back over and over again and trying to get it right every time and trying to have to deal with the karma of something that you don't even remember until you can finally learn who you were. You can just make sure that you are righteous and you are covered by the blood, and you can make sure that you follow this law, and it is mandated, therefore, by the Christ himself that he will bring you into heavenly places. I'm not afraid to go there. You see that? I'm not afraid. I didn't say one thing that was wrong, but see, for the average person, you're Jonah. I'm running away from that. But what if you're called to that? Do you know what this is? What if you're called to that? Somebody goes, oh, LGBTQ plus. I don't even be around them. I don't do that. I can't talk to them. I can't stand it. You know, they're so bad. They're blah blah whatever. They're an abomination. Okay, okay. But when I talk to somebody and they say, well, what? I'm tired of y'all because I got to deal with all of us, because we all treat them bad as a whole. So I got to go, or not as a whole, but as a majority. So I got to deal with these people coming. Well, you hate us, and you think that no, I don't hate you. Well, you guys say this, and you guys hate us, and you guys don't want that. I was like, well, first of all, I never said that, but look, first of all, I do get it, and I don't think that you shouldn't be treated as somebody that's not a human being. However, we believe in purpose. And we believe that Yahweh made you on purpose. And I believe that everything that's in your body, on your body, every molecule, every cell, and everything that's within you, unless it's something going bad because you're eating wrong, I believe the way you were created was created for everything that the Most High has for you. And so the reason why we need to deal with this stuff, and it's called sin. Sin means to miss the mark. So if you're sinning, you're missing the mark. And what I would like for you to see is your greatest purpose, your greatest value. I believe that if you have a phallus, that your phallus is part of your journey. I believe that if you have a vagina, your vagina is part of your journey. I believe if you have a womb, your womb should be protected, because any seed that goes into your womb, it is a garden, it is an Eden within itself. And so when I talk to you about it, I want to talk to you about it as if I identify with your plight as a human being. I can see how you've gone through some things. Hey, how you doing? I speak. Right. I can see how somebody might have done that and made you feel wrong. I can see all those things that are in you. I can see that most of us have missed the mark and even treating you like a human being. But let me start over. Hello. I have respect for you. I honor you. I love you with the love of Yahweh. And I want to see you be righteous. Righteous means right, lawful standing. I'm not trying to be right. I'm not even trying to be righteous by my own eyes, because my righteousness is as filthy rags. My righteousness is a period rag. That means that, like, if you want to talk about what I think is righteous, but I think of righteous is something that you shouldn't be touched. It makes you unclean and it makes you sick. It is disgusting. It is the loss of life. However, however, his righteousness is eternal. How you doing, Sherry? And you see what I'm saying? That's the difference. So I'm not afraid to have that conversation with the non-believer or the LGBTQ plus or the this and that, because I can talk to them as a human being. I'm not afraid to talk to the pastor that says that I'm terrible and I'm a stumbling block or whatever, and show them, well, in your scripture and your belief system, this is what it says. So the problem is not that you're aware of it. The problem is, do you know it? See, if I'm intimate, I know it, then the fruit that I produce is going to be something that's edible. If I give something that's fruit that people can't eat, then it's not where it's supposed to come from. What's the old saying? Is either out your amen or not. If people can't receive what you're saying, if it's not edible, it might be because it's not from the tree, at least not from the right tree. You talking about you rooted and grounded in the kingdom, but nobody can eat your fruit. You got to ask yourself a question. Now I get it, because you guys know I'm the first one to say this ain't for everybody, and it's not. It's not for everybody. Real talk. The Bible tells you that not everybody can be a child of the Most High, because you have to actually do something to be worthy of being adopted into a position, even if you're born of a child. So just because you're Esau and born with a birthright doesn't mean you won't lose it and deal with the Esau spirit for the rest of your life, right? But at the same time, right? At the same time, there's got to be some righteousness. And once again, it's righteousness. So if somebody can't accept the teachings at all, some people just aren't going to listen. That's fine. But if you got it to a place where you just say, I'm going to tell you what it is, and F you and blah, blah, and I only got love for you, I got love for you, then you don't believe in Luke chapter 6, verse 30, starting at verse 32 or so, going to verse 38. If you can only love people that love you, then what thank that we have for you? What makes you that great? Because even your enemy, the people you say you hate, they got enough sense to know that. Right? If you can only give to people who you know are going to be able to give you your loan back, then what thing have we had for you? For you going to do the same that they do. Therefore, judge. Verse 37, judge the way you want to be judged. It doesn't mean you can't judge, but make sure you want to be judged that way, which means judge by a righteous standard that's not your own. Or else people are going to judge you by your little standard. And guess what? On your bad days and your mad days, when you say something that's off point, they're going to judge you off point. Judge the way you want to be judged, and condemn the way you want to be condemned, and forgive or don't forgive the way you want to be forgiven or not forgiven. So when you can't forgive, realize that Yahweh says, okay, when you come before me, I can't forgive you for that. And verse 38 behind it, that's when it says give, and it shall be given unto thee. Elohim's measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over shall men, other human beings, give into your bosom. For with the same measure that you meet, that you give out, all you doing is revision upon yourself. And when Yahweh gives it to you, he gives it to you greater than what you gave out. That's why it's Elohim's measure, not your measure, not your righteousness. But when he gives it, he's going to say, oh, okay, you said that all white people are bad. Okay, well, then I'm going to figure out what's wrong with you. If that's where we're gonna go. You said all black folk is bad. Okay, I'm coming. I'm gonna send a whole bunch of black folk at you. Or I'm sorry, you say all black folk are bad. They're gonna show you why you bad. You say all men are terrible. Okay, don't get mad when they start talking about toxic femininity. You say all women are terrible. Don't get mad when they start talking about toxic masculinity. Give whatever you give is gonna be measured out to you. Elham's measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, shall men give into your bosom. For with the same measure that you meet, that you take care of, that you give out, that you give, is going to be given unto thee. So we got to know. We know. You said someday you, someday you and are gonna have to have a conversation about me and my dad's relationship. Wow, wow, praise y'all. We can set it up, bro. You know we can. Let me know when you're available. Right, give whatever I give out. It's what I get back. Generational curses sometimes are that simple. We know. I'm here to tell you. I didn't even mean to go this way, but let's just go ahead and end the way the Holy Spirit said we should end. She wants you to know today that generational curses sometimes are not based off of what we know. It's just based off of what you won't release. You haven't forgiven. Why does this keep happening to me? Why does it keep happening? Have you let it go yet? You ain't got to tell me who you are. You ain't got to raise your hand. You ain't got to do none of that. If you want to talk, do a one-on-one life coaching, marital coaching at some point with it, we can do it later on. You ain't got to say nothing now. But I know somebody. Statistics show that at least somebody who's listening tonight, I would say at least several somebodies, even with us only having 57 people listening right now at this time. But statistics show somebody in here has not forgiven. Statistics show even worse sometimes, because this one is the one that you can't see that easily. But statistics show that somebody hasn't forgiven themselves. How do you know forgiveness when you haven't given it? Hallelujah. That's a word right there. Holy Spirit speaking. How you doing, Minister Sonia? How do you know forgiveness when you haven't given it? You got to be intimate with. You got to know. We know we're intimate, and we do it to produce fruit. How do you produce fruit when you haven't? Who do you need to release? What do you need to release? What do you need to forgive? Now's the time. Now's the time. Right now, you have a decision to make. You can do it right now. You can decide today. Choose ye this day who you're going to serve. Will you serve the devil? Will you serve deceit? Will you serve anger? Will you serve frustration? Or will you serve the Most High? Choose right now. You have the opportunity right now. The altar is here, unchanged. You know, altar is not supposed to be something that's made by human hands, or it's not supposed to be something that looks like these stages. It's supposed to be just rocks and sticks and sand or whatever you're going to use, and you just put it together. Right? That's what an altar is. It's something that's natural. It's natural. It's open. I don't got a bunch of music playing. I'm not even mad at a bunch of music playing. If I could, I'd have somebody playing right now. Right? But it's not about that right now. This is about you and your hubby. This is about you and you. This isn't about you and I. I'm just a vessel right now. If you might not like the vessel, but you better pay attention and heed to what's being said. Search yourself right now for that thing that you need to let go. It could be the only thing that could allow you to go into the or prevent you from getting to the next place. All it took was one time for Moses to be in a place where he couldn't forgive the people for what they did. And he forgot who he was for a second. And when he forgot who he was for a second, he decided to strike what he was told to speak to. Unforgiveness had him strike out when he should have spoken. And because he wouldn't speak, but he struck, he couldn't go into the promised land. You might be trying to strike people instead of speak. That's wow, Holy Spirit. That's a word. You might be striking somebody with your tongue, striking somebody with your countenance, striking somebody with your Bible verses, striking somebody with your stride, striking somebody with how much better you think they are than you are than them. But it's time to let it go. You need to get into Canaan. You need to get into this new wilderness that Revelation 12 says that we as a people are going to go into. You need to be away from that. This isn't no cultish thing or what people call a cult. This is about letting it go. It's not for the person. This is for you. Your heart physically needs it. Your gut physically needs it. You know that your brain physically needs for you to go to sleep tonight and for the first time in a long time, not be thinking about what somebody did that was so bad to you. Or even what you did to somebody else. Forgive yourself. You said not sure how you should reconcile ourselves to divine purpose in light of severe suffering and trauma. Well, we've talked a whole lot about trauma on here. Trauma is necessary to talk about, right? But we need to make sure that we get that in in place and in order. Let go, forgive. Let go, forgive. You're right, Sir Stephen. I actually have a little bit, but I haven't followed through with it. We're gonna get that taken care of. Let go, forgive, give, and it shall be given unto thee. Allahum's measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, shall men give into your bosom. Judge the way you want to be judged, right? Judge the way you want to be judged. Condemn the way you want to be condemned. Forgive the way you want to be forgiven. If you don't think you want to be forgiven, then don't forgive. It could be that simple. You said when you've experienced religious trauma, well, you want to find religion. Once again, religion is a legion of people that repetitively do something. We went to a place where people called themselves something, but their religion or what they repetitively did as a legion of people, it showed us who they were. So Maya Angelou taught us that when somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. So now that you know who they are and you know what this is and you know what it shouldn't look like, now you need to start seeking and checking. And by the way, vet anybody, including myself. Anybody who would teach you something, everything that you say, it's okay to question it. As a matter of fact, everything in the Bible is okay to question because the Bible teaches us that the saying now is try the spirit by the spirit. But the reality, it actually says test everything or try everything to see if it is of Elohim. That's a whole different way, right? So a lot of people try the spirit by the spirit, but what does that mean? Well, if the pastor don't think it's spiritual, then you shouldn't try it, so you don't ask a question. Or people don't live by what they say. No, if you say this is what it is, even Yahweh, if he says pray like this, and this is the context of which you should pray, and this is how we should know one another, and these are the actions you should have, and these are the actions I have towards you, and then you follow those things and you get a terrible result, leave that alone, including with me. Hold me accountable. Hold anybody, hold my wife accountable, hold the ministerial staff accountable, hold my children accountable, all those things. Somebody on here, yeah, I see y'all, right? How you doing, Minister Shante? I see it. It's the same type of question. How do I forgive? How do I forgive? You do it. I didn't say it's easy, but I can't give you some things are not profound in nature. Some things are going to be profound, or some things are not going to be profound because I speak on them. Once again, culture. Some things are not going to be profound just because I speak it. Some things will be profound because you live it. When I say just do it, look, I'm somebody who used to be known as clinically depressed, right? Had different things like speech impediment. Believe it or not, you can kind of hear it every once in a while. I stutter a little bit when I'm trying to get something out, or I have to be super repetitive because it's a way of me repeating without sounding like I'm stuttering. So I had to find little tricks of the trade, right? But I'm here, but I'm just saying I have different things. I come from family that deals with colorism and stuff. I'm literally and figuratively the black sheep of the family because of colorism in my family, as far as my mother and my father are concerned, and how the family kind of even fell apart in that. Um, I'm aware of a lot of those different things, right? But we have to get to a place where we recognize. Oh, I'm sorry, we just lost TikTok. I don't know if we got you guys back, but oh, we don't. Are you guys back yet? Nope, still not back. Wow. What's going on? Are you guys there? You go. Okay, sorry about that. I was just saying, though, I have some things and different things that are going on in my life, or that have happened or whatever, and you got to forgive. You got to let go. And the word forgive, it means this: before somebody does something, you got to give them the right to do it. I didn't say you got to trust them again. I didn't say that they get to be in the same position, but forgiveness is not something that should be reactionary. Forgiveness should not be reactionary. Forgiveness should be proactive. It should not be reactive. It should not even be active. It should be proactive. It should be really pre-active, if I could use that word, that term, right? Before it even happens, I already know you're a human being. You're going to mess up. Now, prayerfully, I can have enough trust in you that you're not going to do certain things. However, before you mess up, I can't be in a great relationship with my wife and not believe that she's going to do something as a human being that will fall short of not even what she should do. Sometimes it's just if I was in her position, I would do. The Holy Spirit revealed this to me years ago, and it blesses me still. And prayerfully, this blesses you where you're at. People do not get mad at people because, because they offended you. You know why you really get offended? You get offended because people do things that you swear if you were in their position, you swear you would have done it different. And here's the deal. You would have done it differently. You would have done it differently. But here's the problem with it. You're not the person. You don't speak their love language. So somebody does something wrong and they say out loud, they speak their love language is words of affirmation. I'm so sorry. I apologize. You're my queen. You mean the world to me. I would never do anything like that to you. I promise I'm going to get it right. And you say, okay. And in their mind, since their love language is words of affirmation, they think they've apologized to you. Right. But the reality is, yeah, we do one-on-one coaching and life coaching and stuff. Just reach out to us. We actually have our information on the TikTok. If you're on TikTok, if you're on YouTube, it's in the description box. If you're on TikTok, all you got to do is look in the on the main page and then click on our link tree. And you should be able to contact us through the website, or even if you go on YouTube, you can give us your information through the information in the description, either way. But yeah, if my love language is words of affirmation, then I'm going to comfort the person with words. But if the person's love language is what? Acts of service, then the person's waiting on you to show action. They don't care what you said. They'll go, okay. They didn't say, okay, I forgive you. If you notice, they just said, okay. But they're waiting for you to act. But if you don't know enough about the person to see what their love language is, see, so there's a lot of different things going on where you might think somebody. Now, I know there's some things that are just straight up dirty, and some people are scoundrels, and some people do those things, right? But the reality is that there's a lot of people that just speak a different language than you as far as their normal routine. Like, for example, somebody who's waiting on words and somebody's love language is gifts. Then when you say I'm sorry, they might want you to go get flowers. Some people go, oh, women, not all women want flowers, and that's just a man thing. That's a pit. No, there's some people out there, they like gifts. So if you say I'm sorry, they're waiting at some point for you to come with a gift. You better go get some chocolates and flowers and bring them because they waiting on that. You better make sure, oh, okay, like I got you a card and I wrote out in hand. I got one of those cards where it's blank on the inside, and I made sure by hand I wrote, and I even wrote it in your favorite colors. I don't even like doing this stuff, but I'm going to do it because I want to make it a gift unto you. I want it to be something that's a sacrifice for me. I don't do this, but it's something you do. And then they say, oh, wow, thank you for your apology. They can accept it. Some people, they like, what's their love language is a physical touch. That's why some people, after arguments, what do y'all do? Y'all go in the bedroom. Or after you finish, you have a kiss. You do something, right? You go somewhere, you want to hold hands. Why? Because we need to do something physical. Physical touch is my love language. So if you just say, I'm sorry, for them, they're waiting like, you better show it to me. You better make it up. Let's go. Right? But it's a love language thing. Some people's love language is quality time. Hey, you messed up. We need to go to a movie or something. We need to do this. We need to do that. We need to go somewhere. You done messed up. I want some quality time. Okay. Hey, somebody got to babysit the babies, even if I got to pay extra money because I messed up. They're not going to forgive it. I mean, they're going to forgive it, but they're not really going to be able to release it and to be able to actually accept the apology now, because the word apology means explanation. So I'm explaining it in a different love language. To apologize means to defend that which I believe, or to give you a reason why I did something. We think apology means just say, I'm sorry. No, apology means I need you to explain to me, make this plain. Why did you do this? And so once again, when you talk about forgiveness, it's a different mentality. To forgive is before somebody does something, have you given the right as a human being for them to make a mistake? That being said, let me go ahead. I'm going to tap out. Time for us to take our leave. I have not even ate yet, and I'm eating late, which means I'm gonna have to stay up late because you can't go to sleep off of your food or whatever. But nevertheless, I thank you guys. I appreciate you. I honor the King, Queen, each and every one of you. Please check out my wife, the Honorable Maya, on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A and D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Thank you for being on with us. Thank you for those who've been ordering calendars and tassels and stuff like that. We're going to try and start getting orders out starting tomorrow. We should be far enough away from the new year to where at least it won't be too long getting to you now. So thank you for those who would put in orders. We've literally been going over the orders and addresses and everything, double checking. So we should be able to get that stuff to you ASAP. Those of you who've been waiting on some of the stuff as far as tinctures, I know that was sent out to you guys, and I checked in with a few of you. So just make sure if you got a text from me, trying to just double check and make sure you got your stuff, that you should have gotten it. We did not finish Reclaiming the Throne I thought that we would be able to finish it, but we got like another 24 minutes or so. So we'll probably rewind it some, do about 30 minutes out, and then watch the rest of it on Saturday for SOC meeting. And then we'll discuss it. Don't forget, this is the first Friday of the month in 2023. Looking beyond what we see, this is our first Friday. This means every Friday we ask people to go out into the community and bless somebody with something. You know, if you know somebody might need some money, maybe somebody needs a phone call, maybe somebody needs some help, maybe somebody needs a hug, you know, but go and bless somebody in the community. Or not even just in this community. It'd be nice if you bless somebody in this community, actually, but you know, just somebody who needs help and establish. You don't have to tell us about it, anything. We just ask people to go out and do it so we can be used to being in the mindset of blessing everybody in the community. Ministerial staff, don't forget Thursday coming up. We got a meeting coming up Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern New York time. And those who are reaching out and making phone calls for us and contacting people, you're going to be involved in this meeting as well, so we can give you some information, so we can all be on point with some of the stuff coming up as far as stuff that needs to be given as we continue to grow and call out and reach out to people and make sure people are meeting up in your locations and in the areas you're in. So please be aware of that and look for that to pop up on your Google Calendar invites. Also Thursday in the Rising, 7 a.m. Eastern New York time, Thursday Rising Prayer coming up, first Thursday Rising Prayer of this year. And then don't forget, tomorrow we will not be doing or we will be having our session, but it'll be here on live. I'll be doing the first one for this year. So those who are going to be looking for us on Wednesday, don't look for us on the conference call. Look for us to be on TikTok. Look for us to be on YouTube. It'll be updated in the Google Calendar invite. So you should not, if you do go looking for the link or for the number or whatever, you should see clear as day. Hey, go look on TikTok, go look on social media, and Kofi be on. Okay. So thank you. Appreciate it. We honor you. As always, this has been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again. Please remember, as always, yourself, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you're fearfully, wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. And when I say, just in case, because we got new people on all the time. So when I say we'll be in the same place, YouTube will be right here. We'll be on Facebook. We'll be on the podcast. If you're on TikTok, though, we won't be on Kofi_42. Look up Kofi_43. And we'll be there live at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. All right. We look forward to talking to you guys. Barak Allah Acham Yahava, Guam Yashdam, Tada Yashdam, Baba Kasha. Have a great day. We'll see you in the Bakwa. Peace.